Okay, now we'll just give it another minute before we get started. Okay, great. We're gonna get started. If you can just go to the next slide. So before we begin, just wanted to let everyone know interpretation is available in Spanish and Bangla. If you need interpretation, please click on the interpretation icon on the bottom of your screen. So it's located at the bottom. It's the globe-looking symbol that says interpretation. Just gonna leave it up for a moment. Great. Next slide. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our zoning deep dive on our corridor areas. This is part of a series that is focused on specific topics from the draft zoning framework, which we shared during the town hall 2 weeks ago on June 13th. If you weren't able to join that town hall, the recording is available on our website, which is jamaicaplan.nyc. We'll also send the link around after this meeting. The goal of the zoning deep dive on the corridor areas is to tell you more about the zoning tools that we're thinking of using in Jamaica's corridors. We went over this during the town hall, but we wanted to have the space for more conversation on this area as we have dedicated Q&A at the end of the session. Next slide. So just to share an overview of some of the items we'll cover tonight, we'll briefly review the neighborhood planning process just to show where we are and where we're going. Then we'll share a list of upcoming meetings. We'll give a brief refresher of the zoning framework, and then we'll talk about what we're proposing with these corridors. We also want to walk through our website. So we recently updated the website with a lot of information, so want to share that all with you so you have access to tools you can look at on your own at home. We'll make sure to save some time at the end for Q&A as well. Next slide. So you might be familiar with this, you might not be familiar with this. Just want to give everyone a refresher. We walked through this during the town hall and during our previous deep dives. But if you're joining us for the first time, definitely want to explain what this diagram means. We're basically in the middle of a process. We released our draft strategies, which are a concrete set of ideas for changes to zoning, investments in programs and services, as well as policy changes to support the current and future neighborhood. And we shared the draft zoning framework, which is part of the draft strategies a couple of weeks ago. The next step in this process is for our draft zoning framework to enter environmental review. So New York City's environmental review process involves a comprehensive analysis of potential environmental impacts of a proposal that includes air quality, noise, transportation, schools, and open space. We're going to talk more about our environmental review process later in the presentation tonight, so we'll come back to this. While the zoning goes through environmental review, we're going to continue working with our partner agencies and all of you to continue to define potential investments that are needed to support the neighborhood as it grows. And then finally, we're going to come back together next year to kick off the Uniform Land Use Review process, also known as ULURP, where stakeholders, including community boards, borough presidents, the City Planning Commission, and the City Council, will all have a chance to weigh in on this plan. And if it's approved, the plan will result in new zoning, as well as new programs, new services, and capital projects. The city is required to update you on the status of these commitments on an annual basis. Next slide. So, like I mentioned earlier, tonight's deep dive was part of a series we've done in the past few weeks. You might have been at our deep dive this past Thursday or the one last Thursday. Last Thursday, we spoke about housing tools through zoning. A few days ago, we walked through the industrial district proposals. These are all leading up to a scoping meeting that we have on July 11th. That scoping meeting, it's an opportunity for the community to let us know what areas should we be studying for potential impacts. But again, we have some dedicated slides that we're going to talk through environmental review soon enough. Next slide. So just a reminder, all the work that we're doing in the neighborhood plan is guided by these goals. Each goal has a number of strategies that you can find up on our website, but we specifically highlighted the strategies that the zoning framework is addressing. So for example, as you see under goal 1, to improve quality of life, the zoning framework is aiming to create a supportive environment for diverse businesses to grow or open to meet the needs of the community. Next slide. And here's the draft zoning framework we presented during the town hall. Just a quick refresher, the red, the yellow, and the dark blue areas represent zoning district where housing is allowed. We are also an agency that loves drafts, so this is not the final zoning proposal. We want to be able to share drafts early and often with everyone and open up space for conversations and recommendations to help us refine this proposal as we keep moving along this process. I'm going to pass it to Elisa. She's going to be focusing on these corridor areas, but we'll dive deeper into those specific areas. Passing it on to you, Elisa.
Thanks, Jasmine. So when we talk about transit corridors, we're thinking of corridors that are important routes that connect community members to their homes, work, school, and other neighborhoods through buses, cars, and trains. They also provide local essentials like supermarkets, laundromats, pharmacies, and others. They're often wider than side streets and can accommodate a range of uses and transportation options. Hillside Avenue, Sutphin Boulevard, Merrick Boulevard, and Guy R. Brewer are a few examples of Jamaica's transit corridors. Before we jump into the proposals, we wanted to share some information on what exists along these corridors today. I'm sure you all can easily describe your neighborhoods to us, but there are also these land use maps that give us a summary of what's in neighborhoods today. On the screen is a current land use map of the types of buildings that currently exist along Sutphin Boulevard, south of the Long Island Railroad, Liberty Avenue west of Sutphin, Guy R. Brewer, and Merrick Boulevard. Land use maps use colors to show different types of uses. So typically, different shades of yellow or orange are different types of housing, like 1 to 2 family buildings in light yellow, or multifamily elevator buildings in the orange color. Red is for some type of commercial or office building. Pink is for transportation utilities, which includes an auto body shop, for example. Blue is for public facilities or institutions like faith-based organizations. Purple is for industrial uses. Gray is for parking lots, and black is for vacant spaces. Along the northern portions of these corridors, we see that there are many auto uses in the pink and some industrial activities in the purple. We also see clusters of public facilities and institutions, which include our neighborhood faith-based organizations, as well as a few schools and other facilities. We see more commercial activity along Liberty and Merrick than we do along Sutphin and Guy R, which have more residences, parking, and a few vacant lots. We know the bus lines that go through here are really important to connecting residents and students to services on these corridors and to surrounding areas. Along Hillside, we see there is a lot of commercial activity and only some housing on some mixed-use commercial and residential buildings. Between Hillside and Jamaica Avenue, there are many bus lines that help residents and students get from their homes to where they work, live, or go to school. Similar to Merrick, there are clusters of auto uses throughout Queens Boulevard and Hillside in the pink, but also a few in the red. What sets this area apart from some of these southern corridors is that it has wider streets and is accessible to many buses and the F train on Hillside. As we've been continuing to go through this process, we've heard that it's important to many that these corridors continue to serve the local community and act as welcoming and walkable entrances to the neighborhoods. We've also heard about the need for senior condos or co-ops to help elders stay in the neighborhood when they're ready to move out of single or two-family homes. Also, to make these corridors more accessible to students who travel through them to get to school. Our goal is to create a zoning framework to support these and many other needs. So first, we're going to talk about the southern corridors, which are Merrick Boulevard, Guy R. Brewer, and a portion of Sutphin Boulevard. You can see these areas in the yellow on the map to the right. On the screen is a photo of Merrick Boulevard. Many young people have shared with us that they rely on buses that take them along Merrick to get to high school around Jamaica. Someone on our steering committee reminds us of Ernest Foods, that is a Black-owned market on Merrick as well. On the left side of the photo, we added a dotted line to show the existing zoning, which is an R5D, with a C24 commercial overlay. This generally means that today you can build up to 4 stories here. Here's a sketch of what this area of Merrick Boulevard could look like with the zoning changes we're proposing. We want to emphasize that these are just conceptual sketches and there are no actual plans for these specific buildings. We just wanted to share a visual reference of what zoning could help create. For these corridors, we want to enhance what's already there by using zoning as a tool to create the foundation. Our proposed zoning changes will help create more housing options along these corridors that fit a wide range of family sizes, including seniors who want to downsize, first-time renters moving out of their family's home, and growing families. This increase in zoning density allows us to use mandatory inclusionary housing, which requires that 20 to 30% of new housing be affordable housing. This doesn't currently exist here, so without these zoning changes, any new buildings created here today will most likely be market rate. To help create the opportunity, we're proposing an R7A district. An R7A district allows for mid-rise residential buildings up to around 11 stories. The zoning district, along with the commercial overlay, can create a few types of buildings, including mid-rise residential buildings, buildings with street-level stores and housing on top, or housing with community facility uses like schools, healthcare facilities, cultural uses, and faith-based uses. These developments are built near the street line to help match with other older buildings in the neighborhood. They're also required to provide street trees, which we've heard from many is a need in this area. Overall, R7A districts are designed to work well with wide streets, like our avenues in this corridor, making the buildings feel proportional to the neighborhood. Next, we'll talk about the Sutphin Boulevard corridor going towards Liberty Avenue, the western portion of Jamaica Avenue going towards the Van Wyck, and Hillside Avenue. Like Merrick and Guy R. Brewer, these areas also play an important role in getting people to work, school, and nearby neighborhoods and serving local needs. It's also walkable to the shopping areas of Jamaica Avenue, as well as schools, parks, and nearby medical facilities. Because of where they are located and their rich transportation options, they're an important connector to jobs, schools, and other resources. To support these areas, we're proposing R7X districts by Sutphin Boulevard, Liberty Avenue, and the western portion of Jamaica Avenue, and C44D along Hillside Avenue. R7X districts allow for taller and denser buildings than the R7A we are proposing along Merrick and Guy R. Brewer. These types of buildings can go up to 14 stories and typically include urban design controls to help create building shapes that better relate to the surrounding area. Similar to what we talked about along Guy R and Merrick, the increase in zoning allows us to use mandatory inclusionary housing so that any new development is required to provide some income-restricted affordable housing, and that we don't get situations where only people with high incomes can live near these valuable resources. Another zoning district we're proposing is a C44D along Hillside Avenue. This district is a commercial district that requires active ground floors and allow for multiple floors of non-residential uses as well. This district does allow for residential uses. It has what we call a residential equivalent district. This just means that we will look at the residential building rules that is associated with this district, which is an R8A district. So to connect this area back to the zoning proposal as a whole, here are the zoning tools we are using throughout Jamaica that help support the goals we shared earlier. These include zoning tools that require ground floors to be active, urban design controls that help create buildings with a uniform look, and others. But today, we want to briefly reiterate two approaches that will be relevant to this area. Our toolbox includes an affordable housing tool called mandatory inclusionary housing, which requires developers to create a portion of units as income-restricted affordable housing, and that we are also working with partner agencies to create plans and utilize tools outside of our zoning toolbox to improve conditions in Jamaica as we plan for the future. We spoke about mandatory inclusionary housing, or MIH, during our housing deep dive conversation and a little bit throughout this presentation. Through the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan, we're thinking about making MIH available through all the areas in pink, so areas in the north along Hillside Avenue, along south of that to Jamaica Avenue, by the Long Island Railroad Station, and also Guy R. Brewer and Merrick Boulevard. And those are the corridors we just spoke about, which are also outlined in orange here on the map. So anywhere that is pink, developers are required to set aside at least 20 to 30% of units in their new residential buildings to be permanently affordable units. We also want to emphasize that the zoning proposal is just one part of the neighborhood plan, and we are working closely with our partner agencies, such as the Department of Transportation, the Department of Parks and Recreation, Queens Public Library, and New York City Health and Hospitals to come up with a holistic plan and further opportunities. These conversations are still going on, and we want to hear from you. Tell us where there needs to be improvements. One of the ways by doing that is by heading to our website, jamaicaplan.nyc, and we'll also walk through how to use our website at the end of the presentation. So now we're going to talk more about the environmental review. If you attended our town hall, this next part is a refresher. For those who are hearing about this for the first time, we released our draft scope of work 2 weeks ago, which is a draft document that describes our draft zoning framework. The colorful map we showed earlier with the zoning districts and outlines the different topics that will be studied under environmental review, like schools, air quality, infrastructure, and others. So, the scoping meeting, which is scheduled for July 11th, is an opportunity for the public to comment on this draft. Everyone on this meeting, your neighbors, anyone who lives and works in the neighborhood can provide their recommendations on what should be included in this 6 to 8 month long analysis. The types of comments we're looking for during the scoping meeting is around these 19 topics. They include topics like transportation, air quality, schools, open space, public health, and many others. So If you think we should be looking at one of these topics in a specific area of Jamaica, scoping is the time to let us know so we can study it further. There are a few ways to participate for the July 11th meeting. If you want to just listen to the comments people are sharing, we'll be live streaming the entire meeting on the NYC Planning YouTube page. If you'd like to add a comment during the July 11th scoping meeting, that meeting will be virtual and you can join online. During the scoping meeting, everyone will have 3 minutes to share their comments. It will be recorded and the next person will be called on. That July 11th meeting is just a meeting to leave your comment so that it's recorded. There is no Q&A at that meeting. In case you're not available to make that July 11th meeting, please leave your comment. You can email us your comments starting now up to July 22nd. Just want to emphasize that all comments are considered equally, so a comment we get during the July 11th meeting is weighed the same as a comment we get through email. So we hope you found tonight's information helpful, and thank you for joining tonight's session and all the previous deep dives we've had since the town hall meeting. All these deep dives are recorded. We'll share the recordings with everyone, and we'll also put them up on our website at jamaicaplan.nyc. So I'll pass it back to Jasmine to walk us through how to use our website to provide feedback and continue to stay involved in the study.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Um, so we're really excited to update our website recently. We have a lot of cool interactive tools up on our website that I want to share with everyone. Also want to emphasize, we've been doing this process for about a year now. Throughout that year, we've done many, many in-person events. We're going to continue to do in-person events. I think between the town hall and these virtual deep dives, these were the first virtual events that we've done throughout that entire year, just to make sure that we have some virtual options for folks who can't make it out to our in-person events. But we'll make sure, again, to be posting up on our website and sharing out through emails when our next upcoming in-person events will be. So we'll make sure that you all get that information and stay up to date with kind of these events that we have going on throughout the neighborhood. So Lisa, if you can stop sharing, I'm going to share my screen and share the website. So I hope you all can see my screen. This is our website called jamaicaplan.nyc. It's very simple to navigate, but what I wanted to share with everyone tonight is that we added a tab here called Building the Plan. If you click on the tab, a few different options come up. So you can essentially view some of the big milestones that we've reached so far. So they include the visions and goals that we created in a town hall very early on in this process. We worked with over 80 community members to create these vision and goals. Next, we created our draft strategies. You might have heard us reference this. Some of you might be familiar, some of you might not be familiar, but our draft strategies are here on this site. So they're a set of ideas for changes to not only zoning, but also investments in programs and services, as well as policy changes to support the current and future neighborhood. Um, these strategies really reflect a lot of what we've been hearing so far. For example, we've been hearing a lot about the need for more homeownership opportunities and how important it is to have that access to generational wealth. So one of our strategies is to, look at where there are opportunities for homeownership through this neighborhood plan. Other ways, again, like one of our goals is to foster a local economy and help residents build wealth. We are trying to think about like, well, how do we create more opportunities for local artists to exhibit their work? Arts and culture, we've been hearing, is very important to this community and thinking about ways to uplift our artists in the neighborhood. So you can read through our 6 goals with the associated draft strategies through our website. Also, if you go under our draft zoning framework tab, we have an interactive Google map. So that Google map, you can zoom in to any area in the Jamaica area, and you can see those zoning changes that we've been talking about in a more interactive way. So there's also a direct link here. If you click on this link, it'll open it up to a new tab and you can view this map on a larger, on just a larger screen. It works like a Google map, so you can type in an address if you want to see a specific area, but also the zoning framework, like all the colors are transparent, so you can see the streets that are directly under them. There's also a copy of the recording from the town hall underneath, which again talks more about all the areas and some of the proposed changes that we have. Next, again, that was our draft zoning framework. The next tab that we have is information on our environmental review. There's some background information here, including those 19 topics that we're going to be studying through environmental review. So if you want to go back to look which kinds of topics we're going to be studying, and again, for the environmental review, if you want to submit comments around one of these 19 topics, we're looking for those types of comments right now. It also gives you background information on what this process is, so what a draft scope of work is, what this scoping meeting that we keep talking about is, and just some of the more upcoming larger milestones around environmental review. Lastly, we have a tab called Get Involved. Under this tab, you'll find where to register for upcoming events. You'll find an interactive map to add your voice and just a copy of past meetings. So we do have these virtual deep dives here. We also have information on the scoping meeting that's on Thursday, July 11th. We have some space to talk about this digital map where you can add ideas virtually. There is a little instructional video. It's probably about 10 seconds, and sorry that it crashed. But there's an instructional video to teach you how to use this map, but just to quickly show you that as well. This is an interactive map. Wherever you see pins, that means that folks have added comments to areas of Jamaica. So again, like you can click on each one to take and read some of the things that people have currently left. You can add your own comments. It's a great way to crowdsource ideas and comments about just, things that are important to you and places that you want to see improvements in. All right. So that's our quick overview of our website. We hope you use some of our interactive tools on there, but also happy to open it up for some Q&A. So let me stop sharing my screen. Great. So the way that we run our Q&A, if you've been a part of our meetings in the past, you can feel free to use the raise hand feature that's down below. We'll go in the order of raised hands. You can also feel free to leave questions in the chat or the Q&A features. And also, because there are a few folks online and we want to make sure to respect everyone's time until 8:30, which is when the meeting is going to end. If you can try to keep your comments and questions to around 3 minutes, that'll help us make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. Great. So feel free to raise your hands, leave questions in the chat. I'm going to start with Vanessa. I know you had your hand raised first.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Sparks. I am a lifelong resident of Jamaica, Queens. And I have attended a couple of these in-person meetings that you've held before. And I am going to be as critical now as I was then about where the meetings are held. You showed a variety of areas, but you've never held the meeting, any of these meetings, in those specific areas. One of the renderings you showed was on on Merrick Boulevard, near the Allen Senior residence. However, and this is one of the areas that I guess you propose to put put additional apartments, but you've never held a meeting in that community to hear from those residents. I've gone to your meetings, a couple of them. Most of them were held at the farmers market on Jamaica Avenue with many people in attendance, that did not even live in this community. So a lot of the feedback you were receiving, in my opinion, was very skewed by people that either did not live in Jamaica or work in Jamaica or did not live in the affected areas. I think what you need to do is all of those areas that you pinpointed in your presentation, you go into those communities, those neighborhoods, and hold those meetings and hear from those residents because those are the ones that are going to be affected. I'm a homeowner, and it's so funny you were talking about seniors. I'm 61 years old, so I guess I'm now considered a senior. I don't know what seniors that I know in this community that are homeowners that when they're looking to downsize is looking to go into any apartment building that's may possibly be built in this area. They're either going to stay in their home or they're going to relocate, sell their home and relocate out of the city and or state. So the information that you're getting, I believe, is skewed because a lot of it's coming from people who do not live in our neighborhood. And I think when you hold these in-person meetings, you need to go down Hillside Avenue, go down Merrick, Guybrush, or something in the areas that are affected. And then you will get to hear from the people who actually live here that will be affected by this. Thank you.
No, thank you, Vanessa. I'm really grateful that you're critical of our work because it's helpful for us to know where our gaps are. I think, the great part about this is that we're in the middle of a process. So there's still plenty of time for us to, like you mentioned, go to different areas to have different kinds of meetings and continue our work. So we'll definitely work on getting more meetings set up in these other areas of the neighborhood. You are right, though, a lot of our meetings have been kind of in this downtown area, but we're more than happy to kind of expand where we're meeting people. Alright. Does anyone else have any questions? Happy to answer any questions about the zoning framework itself, any questions about the website, or just questions, or even suggestions and just general comments are really helpful to us too. Renee.
Hi. So I mentioned mailers. When the city council want to run for a position or the other elected officials, they send out mailers. If you need to send out mailers about this because it's still closed to off to a lot of people that don't or even they don't have internet or they don't even look at their internet. So you need to send out mailers to every resident in the Jamaica area, all the zip codes. I mean, because this is just a joke. And I have, like with Vanessa said, I have not met any seniors that said that they would want to sell their house and move into them apartments. If anything, like she said, they moved down south, and we're losing a lot of seniors because they are moving down south. And as far as homes, you're not trying to help people become homeowners. You're just trying to make apartment buildings. So you're getting rid of the homes that these people could possibly buy, and you're putting up apartments that will go to not us, not to people that live here already or to our families. They go to outside strangers or to migrants. So this is ridiculous. How it's a farce what you all are saying and what you're doing, and we're gonna have to get more powerful and let you all hear us because you are not reaching the real community. You might be reaching the people that are transitional down in Jamaica Avenue that don't plan on staying there. They plan on renting for a little while and moving out and buying a home in Long Island or getting a home here in Jamaica, Queens, but they don't plan on staying in those apartments. And you keep on catering to some transit person and not listening to the residents that live here and vote. So we have issues, and this is just like the city of Yes. This got to go as well. So I don't know who's backing this or who's pushing it or why Nantash is pushing this, but this is not what the community wants, and she will hear from all of us. We're all together. I think the city of Yes, all the community boards in Queens voted it down except for 2. Out of 14, 2 of them voted it down. So this is just like City of Yes. This is not acceptable. And if she tries to do this or if she does this, then we're going to get someone else to run against her, and that person will definitely win. So And you all will be out of turn because we don't want the mayor there anymore either. We're tired of this. You all need to go. I don't know, you're all young. I don't see any seniors in there in your department. If the seniors are there, then I don't hear them talking. I only hear you young people, and I know you don't even know what you're doing right now. And you will regret it because I know you want to live in your own homes. But yet you're trying to push rentals into our community. And that's a lot of nerve. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much for sharing. Lisa.
Hi again. So I've been, ever since I found out about the rezoning process, I've been at every single meeting. I joined late to the last one and had to attend to, regular being a mom and a family member, being a full-time mom and a full-time worker. And so I missed a great part of it, but I've heard some of the speakers at the end. And I just want to reiterate what I continue to hear every meeting, and it doesn't change. No one wants this rezoning expansion. Jamaica Queens has already been rezoned. It has already impacted the residents of Jamaica Queens. I went to a community board meeting, CB12, a couple of weeks ago, and I believe there was a vote on e-scooters. These e-scooters, and they voted no. These e-scooters are here, and they've already have them plopped in front of a bus stop where people actually step off right into an e-scooter, which are heavy as heck. And they're already taking up parking spaces when we are struggling to find parking spaces for our cars. And I'm so confused about this quote unquote affordable housing. In the same breath, you guys are saying partially affordable units or part of the units will be affordable. Some of the units will be affordable. 25 to 30% of the units will be affordable. And what is your definition of affordable? Because I would like an exact number. If there's only 25 to 30 units affordable, that means 75 to 70 units are not affordable. And we've seen what happened to Williamsburg. We've seen what happened to Harlem. We've seen what happened to the Lower East Side, and we've seen what happened to what's that neighborhood? Even Park Slope. All of those neighborhoods have been gentrified. All of the residents and their children, particularly their children, can no longer afford to live in the neighborhoods in which they were raised. They are being priced out of every neighborhood, and the diversity has become primarily Black and brown to white. We know why Jamaica Queens is a desirable location. It's a traffic hub. But no, all of these things, and I agree with what Woody said at the last meeting, it seems like it's a done deal because we've already complained about the scooters. They're on every block here now. Like, our voice is not being heard, and we hear the same response from you every time. I hate to say it. It's like it's not done yet. It's this process is still ongoing when it isn't. It really is not. Because we're not getting concrete numbers. I would like to hear today what is considered affordable and who are these co-ops and condos geared for? Why would anyone sell their house? They're going to leave their homes to their children, not move into a co-op and condo in the same neighborhood. And it's certainly not going to be a co-op and condo that my kids can afford. So I agree wholeheartedly with everyone. I want concrete numbers. I want to know what these co-ops and condos are being sold for. And there's not just homeowners in this neighborhood. There's renters. And we know that if there are new buildings, those rents will not be affordable for the people and their children who live here now. So I want exact numbers. I don't want this 25, 30% affordable. What is affordable to you? Because what the city and Councilwoman Williams may think is affordable is not affordable to the working class residents of New York City or Jamaica, Queens.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate the comments. We did share a lot of information on MIH and just that very question of what is considered affordable during last Thursday's zoning deep dive, but we're actually going to pull it right back up just to share the information here. I'll make sure to send around the recording after these meetings. I wanted to send one email to send all three of them so that everyone has access to the recordings. I think you went through a lot of the neighborhoods that again, like kind of experienced this change and just all all around unaffordability. But the one thing about this neighborhood plan that's a little different from all those other neighborhoods is that those neighborhoods didn't have access to a lot of the tools that we just didn't have back then, kind of when all these neighborhoods were kind of in this process of change. We have completely different tools now in our toolbox, including this MIH program. So I know we talk about 20 to 30% of units being affordable, but what does that exactly mean? I think the one thing we want to share is just that uh, something about AMIs, you often hear that term, it's called area medium income. Area medium income is a limit set by the federal government, so known as HUD. They do work with the state to figure out kind of what that income level is, but just to kind of set the standard, because I'm going to be saying AMI a lot. I think, Elisa, if you can go to the next slide, it might be, oh, never mind. Actually, I'm so sorry, everyone. Elisa, can you pull up the slides we did for the housing deep dive? Because that one has actual examples of numbers. There we go. So these are just some examples of how MIH could work. Again, like they will never be these exact numbers because it really depends on the building. It depends on how many units are being built. So I can't give you like a standard answer for like across the board. They're just different. So MIH comes with two options. There is a third option that can get mapped alongside of it, but just if you want to consider kind of all three options, option one is called 25% has to serve about 60% AMI. So what ends up happening is that there's like a mix and a range of income. So let's say if it's 40% AMI, maybe just an average income for a family of three might be 48,000. Their sample rent might be $1,210. There might be some units available for 60% AMI, which is about 72,000 for a family of three, and they pay about 1,810 AMI. Then if they're at 80% AMI, maybe for a family of three, it might be 96,000, and they'll pay about 2,410. So this is for option one, just to give an example of what some building did somewhere that we just pulled out to use as an example. Next, going on to MIH option two, 30% serving about 80% AMI. So again, this one's a little bit higher. So 40% of AMI for like a family of three might be 56,500. Their rent might be 1,270. 50% AMI is like 70 for a family of three, making 70,600 is about 1,590 AMI. Then looking about 70% AMI, it's 98,800 for a family of three, so their sample rent might be around 1,910. Lastly, MIH option three. Again, these are examples from just random buildings that we had found throughout the city, just to use kind of the examples of how they used how they used MIH. So this is this MIH option three is a deeper affordability option. 20% of the housing has to serve households at 40% AMI. So they have some units available at 30% AMI. So for an income for a family of three, if they're making about 28,000, their rent is about $575. If they're making 40% AMI, their rent is about $37,560. Sorry, their income for a family of three is about $37,560. So their sample rent is about $810. And then if they're making 50% AMI, and if they're making about, sorry, if they're 50% AMI and they're making about 46,950, their sample rent is around $1,045. Just to give, again, these are just examples. This will never be kind of, there's no one set standard across kind of all these buildings that are built through MIH. They really depend on like these percentages and what kind of mix ends up happening at the MIH building. I hope this is helpful. We're going to send around this copy of this document around after we send all the recordings along with these presentations. So you all have a copy of this presentation. Loretta, you have your hand up too.
Greetings, greetings. How are you? Thank you for the meeting. I want to say that I am in agreement with most of the Southeast Queens residents who are against this building, this plan. I want to say I'm appalled at just trying to push this down our throat as if we don't matter, we don't count. We don't care what you have to say. This is what we're going to do. That's the way I'm taking this rezoning and this here New Jamaica, whatever you're trying to do. And I want to know who came up with the idea, and why did they come up with it, and how did they come up with all of this overbuilding in Southeast Queens? Now, I'm looking at the numbers on the Zoom. This is crazy. This is such a low turnout for such a serious effect on our environment and our quality of life. There was a meeting for zoning, I think yesterday or this morning or something. For yesterday evening, I'm sorry. I got the notice like at the meeting was at 5 p.m. I got the notice at 5:30 p.m. over on Thompson Street or Thomas Street in Astoria. So this is another ploy to distract people or to not let them hear or understand. So that's wrong within itself. Then I'm looking at the designs. Why are you taking away our quality of life? Why are you taking away our sun? Why are you building so high? Why? That's not what we want. We like our single family communities. That's why we came out here to live a low population count in our neighborhoods. And you're just killing it. You're killing it. Sunlight, trees, etc. And then you're overpowering us with these scooters. And I want to say this from observation today. On those scooters were children, not even 18 years of age. And these kids were not using the scooters as was said at Community Board 12 to go from home to the subway, from the subway to a destination to the line. No, these kids are riding up and down the road playing with these scooters. So that has to go. Then I'm looking at the tax incentive for the developers. It's insulting when the homeowners pay tax every year and you're giving the developers tax incentives, paying no tax for X amount of years. That's an insult. I mean, it's like a slap in the face to the community and to the homeowners. You're overcrowding our communities. What you say is affordable is definitely not affordable. They keep pushing this term affordable. It is not affordable. It is not. First of all, nobody want to give anybody a raise for anything, whether you work for the city, the state, or the Fed. No one is giving those type of raises now. So I'm trying to understand affordable. You're making our children. You're forcing our children to live in I call it a slave ship mentality where you're piling everybody inside of a building. The neighbors playing the music too loud. That's not what that's not what most people want in Southeast Queens. So I'll leave that alone. What else do I have down here? I just feel like that is this plan is to remove home ownership from the people in Southeast Queens and mainly the people of color. I think it hurts and it's insulting because we know that he who owns the gold, he who owns the land rules. So you're taking away our rulership, you're taking away whatever little power that we have as homeowners. So it just has to be looked at a different lens. Why are they trying to keep us on the bottom as opposed to helping us build generational wealth? I got so much down here. And these designs, I want to know who came up with these designs on the corridors of our main roads and streets. I want to know this non-building, that's taking away the sunlight, the tree, it's just taking away a lot. So I don't know. I just think that they need to go back to the drawing board and do something that really fits Southeast Queens, that really fits the residents of Southeast Queens. And the senior citizens, most of them, the children move back into the home and take care of their parents. Not the parents moving, some downside, but most move out of the city. Most move out of the city. Thank God for Greater Allen Cathedral for building the senior buildings that they have, but they did not disrespect the community. They did not overwhelm the community. They gave something that was suitable and to the character of the community. So I'm lost. I'm lost here.
Thank you, Loretta. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I think this is exactly why we're having these meetings. And again, in the middle of this process, I would love to be able to have the chance to sit down and talk to you more about kind of some of these thoughts and some of the things that you're thinking about, because we need your help to be able to build this plan and better understand what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So I appreciate you coming to this meeting. We'll make sure again, now that you all registered, that you're up to date with the meetings that we have coming up.
Well, just like the young lady said, she said that you need to go into the community where the people live. You got to go when you want to meet people, you got to meet them where they are, not where you want them to be. You have to meet them where they are. And that makes more sense than letting an outsider come in and dictate how we should. It's insulting. Like we're children and we don't have a right to say how we're paying. Nobody's giving us anything now. Let's get that straight. We're paying for this. So we have a right to say how we want to live. And it's, like I said, it's insulting.
No, absolutely. And we want you all to be a part of this process. So we'll make sure that everyone gets these updates and that, there's opportunities along different areas of Jamaica to workshop with us what makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
I'm speaking out of turn, but I know you have a hard stop at 8:30, and I have to say this. I think that most of the folks that are going to be affected by this, adversely affected, are African Americans, homeowners that have been in this community 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And just like much of our land was stripped from us when our families migrated from the South and even prior to that during Jim Crow, I really think we all should consider some sort of class action lawsuit based on racial discrimination in doing this, because it is going to be primarily African American homeowners that are going to be adversely affected by this. Because what you're doing is, you're not just talking about, as I looked at your rendering, you're acting as if they're not homes that are down the block from the main strip. or whatever it is you guys call it. And those homeowners are going to be adversely affected. I looked at all of the areas of the renderings you put up. And I really think that a group of African American homeowners should really consider some sort of class action lawsuit to put a halt to this, based on the fact that they are stripping us of our generational wealth. That there are thousands of examples around the country that we can point to and cite, because basically what the city of New York is doing is trying to strip African Americans and other folks are primarily of color are trying to strip us of our land. This is a land grab. And unfortunately, they've been able to get some of our Black elected officials on board with this foolishness. But it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make a difference who it is. I think we should seriously consider a class action lawsuit. And as Miss Loretta said, the tax breaks that are given to the developers, we are not getting any tax break. During the pandemic, homeowners still had to pay property taxes. There was no halt on our property taxes during the pandemic. And now you're talking about giving what will equal billions of dollars to people who don't live in this community, that can care less about this community. And even the people that will move into these buildings are not going to benefit. These are matchbox apartments that are going to be going for anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000. It is not going to enhance the community one bit. The only benefactor is going to be the developer. It's going to be no benefactor to either the homeowner resident or even the individuals that live in these little small apartments. And I really think we should really begin to research and possibly think about, if possible, bringing a class action lawsuit, whether it's against the city or these developers, as this is a racial land grab. They are trying to steal the land from African Americans. So that's the message I want you to take back. Since as someone said, they act as if this is a done deal. It is not over until it's over. And please let them know that that is something that some residents are actually going to consider, to at least halt this. Because, and if necessary, put it to a vote on a ballot. If nothing else, it should be put to a vote on a ballot, an election, and let the residents of the city of New York vote on this.
Thank you, Vanessa. 100%
Reverend
agree. It's
Forbes
not
needs to
over
speak.
until it's over. And then
Chair,
also,
the chair community board 12 needs to speak. Please let her speak. She hasn't talked yet. Thank you.
thank you, Renee. Let me just finish this thought and then I will let the others speak. But I just wanted to quickly say that really appreciate the comments. I think, appreciate that loud and clear. Definitely not over until it's over. But then also, like, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity to help shape the plan, but also on the other end, there's always opportunities to disagree with the plan. And we want there to be this kind of open dialogue of, how you want to shape this plan versus if you actually don't want this plan. So all of that is welcome. I'm really appreciate kind of all these comments about just the concerns around this plan because this is just going to help us shape this a lot better. So appreciate that and thank you so much. But also, I know there's two other people who had their hand raised. So sorry that I know someone cut in front, but want to be respectful and make sure the other two get a quick chance to share their thoughts. It is 8:30, so I apologize to everyone. I know we're supposed to end exactly at 8:30. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if we can just keep it to 3 minutes and then we can help wrap up the meeting. If Reverend Thorbs, you can unmute.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to hear the voices that I'm hearing on here. I came in late because I was fighting with trying to register to get on this, and it was nice and well tucked away and how to register. You couldn't have made it any harder for people to register and get in. I have one question about the height of the buildings that you're talking about coming down the corridors. How tall are you looking to build these buildings? Any one
Yeah.
of you, sir?
Yeah. Sorry. Elisa, do you have the information up?
Yes, so for the proposed R7A, R7A permits a maximum stories of 11 stories for buildings. And that's going to be down Geyer Brewer and Merrick Boulevard.
Okay. That means you're looking to put an 11-story building up against St. Albans and this is for everyone to pay attention to, up against St. Albans, which everyone knows are homeowners. Our fight is with city planning, but now the conversation has to go to Natasha Williams, the councilwoman. She ushered this in. This is where our attention has to change and go to her, because this is not acceptable. When city planning came to us 15 years ago and tried to have, it wasn't city planning, it was somebody else trying to build a building and trying to convince us that they could put parking in the back. Where? In somebody's yard? This is the same type of behavior. And yes, we're saying no. CB12 has said no to this rezoning because the area has already been rezoned. Over 500 blocks has already been rezoned. And that is why you can build in downtown Jamaica today the way it is because that zoning was done. This additional zoning, like everyone has already said, is not for our community at all. There are apartments that people from within the community, the young adults, can't even get into. Paperwork has been lied upon, and I can go on for nauseum. But you're not listening to what we're saying, and you're still moving on with a smile on your face. So, community, we have to take this to another level. We have to handle this in another direction. We must make our voices known to the borough president because he is for this. And you need to make your voices known to the city council, not the city council, but to Natasha Williams, because this is her baby and it began with her. And this is how we need to work. So ladies, gentlemen, we need to do what needs to be done. Also, you need to start walking the communities, because as many people that have been in these rooms, you should see the ones that don't know anything about this. They have no idea. And that's a scary thing, that they have no idea what is trying to come their way. 11-story buildings, destroying the character of St. Albans and messing with the character of Jamaica, Queens, unheard of. Unheard. And please, I would ask that when you address the women in this community is Miss, Mrs., stop calling them by their first name. You're not old enough. And we find that very disrespectful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Thorpes. I'll make sure to adjust that. And Renee, just if you can close us out for the next 3 minutes and then we can wrap up.
I just want to say, I remember at the last city planning meeting that the gentleman said that we have the lowest rents, I think, in the city. Is that right? In our area?
Oh, which gentleman? I don't see.
Someone that works for city planning that was talking about City of Yes. You said that we have the lowest rents. So if we have the lowest rents, which I believe we do, because if you go anywhere else, it's a lot higher. Why are they attacking our homes in this area? If we have lower rents, our two families probably have the lowest rents. Everything is low here. With you putting these apartments there, they're tiny, like she said, they're going to be very expensive, and this is not needed in our community. So I think you need to check that out to see. I like to know how our rents rate among all of New York City, because if it's low, then this doesn't make any sense, because you're talking about affordable. If we're already affordable, then what you're doing doesn't make any sense. So next time I'd like next meeting to find out where our rent is based on everywhere else in New York City, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Sorry, I was a little confused because our team is mainly women, but I think you're referring to a presentation you went to the other night for City of Yes. But we'll make sure to get that information.
Same information would fit here.
There's a question. There's a question in the chat.
Sure. Last question. Can someone on the plan please explain who came up with this plan? I think it was a joint collaboration, essentially. The elected, so including Councilmember Williams, Queensborough President's Office, they're very interested in trying to, help Jamaica Queens grow and be
Help
this
investors.
neighborhood that they grew up in.
Help investors.
But
I mean,
thank you so much,
it would be
everyone.
nice if they cleaned the streets. It would be nice if they cleaned the streets and get rid of the garbage. I mean, how about start there?
Yeah, we have been hearing a lot about that. I think we've
Get
been
them
getting a lot of
trucks up, get
comments.
those trucks off the road.
Close the shelter, close some of the shelters.
How
Start there.
about that?
Give money to our schools. I mean, there's so many other things that we need to do in this
Yes.
community before
Yes.
we even welcome anybody else.
Yeah,
I think we
actually,
totally agree with you on that. I think, hi, I'm Lara Marita. I'm Senior Director for Community Planning and Engagement. I appreciate hearing all of the different aspects that you have been thinking about and expressing here. What we're hoping through this process, and we still have a lot of more time, and I know that you want to see more details, and we're definitely trying to get more details out for comment and feedback. I would also say we're trying to be as comprehensive as possible. That's why this is a plan. It's not just a rezoning. There's a policy program and capital investments that we'll be thinking about alongside anything that changes in this neighborhood. So this is a very comprehensive look. So we really hope that we can continue the conversations with you. We're really happy to hear what you had to say tonight and what you have been saying over the past year. So we really appreciate your time on this. And we're taking it back and talking to all the other agencies, making sure that our electeds are aware, and our executive team at City Hall.
Okay, well, let them
and
know
just
that
before,
now 11 stories does not cut it. 9 stories does not cut it. Maybe 5 possibly. But 11 and 9 is definitely out of the question. And those 5 stories should be in more of a commercial zone as opposed to a residential zone, if that would help.
I appreciate that. I really do. We're going to take all of this back and make sure that we really look through it and talk through it with.
Crazy.
and sorry, I know Whitney from the council members team has her hand up, so just want to give her a moment before we wrap up. Whitney, you can unmute.
Thank you, Jasmine. And I just want to thank Lara as well as Elisa for tonight's presentation and really, highlighting the work that is being done in downtown Jamaica as well as like the neighboring communities. And to everyone on the call who definitely expressed concerns, I just wanted to, not just stand here silent. The council member is always listening and appreciates all of your feedback. And we did get a lot of great feedback tonight. This will be taken back to the council member. And we just want to, following up on Lara's words, that this is a plan and, it's not an immediate one, but it's just, highlighting the opportunities that are already in your community. And this plan won't get done without your feedback. So, we are located on Linden Boulevard. And again, our phone number is 718-776-3700. A lot of you all on this call already do have my personal information, so I will drop that in the link in the chat as well. If you do have any specific comments or questions, we will send it to DCP, and we will continue to be a partner not only with the Department of City Planning, but as well as you, the community members. So I just wanted to close with that. Thank you all very much for this wonderful presentation. It was great.
Thank you, Whitney. All right, want to respect everyone's time. Thank you all. Hope you all have a great evening, and I'll make sure to send around a copy of the presentation and recording after this meeting. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.